Hello. Okay, so today we are going to learn about WH questions in English. So I wanted to teach you these to help you better understand what people mean when they ask you a question, or how you can ask people questions for something more specific. So WH questions are questions that start with the word who, what, when, where, and why. Or they can ask using the word how. How do you do this? That kind of stuff. So the first one we're going to talk about is who. Who. Now, when somebody uses who to ask a question, who is this? Who is that? Who are you bringing to dinner? They're talking about a person. So the word who is the word that we use in English when we're asking about a person that we don't know anything about. Who is that, right? So we don't know who they are. Person is what we use to talk about who when we ask questions. So who is coming to dinner? So when you ask who is coming to dinner, to answer the question, you replace who with a name or a person. Who is coming to dinner? Martha is coming to dinner. So you'll see that the question and the answer use the same words, except we replace who with Martha. So who is what we use when we are asking questions or when we don't know. I don't know who, I don't know who messed up the kitchen. I don't know who came to the door. We use it when we don't know. So when we answer the questions, we replace who with the person. So who is always going to be used with people. So, or you could say, who is coming to dinner? My coworker is coming to dinner. It just has to be a person. It doesn't have to be a person's name. It doesn't always need to be that. You can just say who, and then you can say a person. So who is coming? You could even just say a person. A person is coming to dinner. Who is coming to dinner? My coworker is coming to dinner. Who is coming to dinner? Martha is coming to dinner. What? The word what? Why do we use it? What is the word that we use when we're asking a question about a thing? Now, what can talk about something specific, right? So thing is a time or an object, right? So, or it could be anything that is not human. So we use who to talk about people. We use what to talk about everything else. So what is that? We use that in English all the time. What is that? And it could be anything. We just, we point to it. What is that? So you could say, oh, what is that? It is my new phone. That's what it is. It is my new phone. Or let's say, I just had this in my hand and I was like sitting like this, and somebody goes, hey, what are you holding? You can say, oh, I'm holding a pen, right? So what is for everything else in the world that isn't, a person, right? So the other thing is thing can be, time, which is weird because we have a word in English that we use to ask about time. We use when, but what can be used as well, but I'll show you how we do it. So you can say, what time are we eating? And basically you're just saying, tell me the time we are eating, but you're asking it as a question. What time are we eating? We are eating at 5. What day is the meeting? The meeting is on Friday. So you'll see that the word what is asking the question, but we also needed the word time. What time? And the answer is at 5. What day? And the answer part is on Friday. So we can use what before another word, like what time, what day, what car are we taking to work, what bus are we taking to work. And it's just saying, you know, the question word is just saying, okay, what, which one, what, which, what one, which is another WH question, but we're not going to talk about it today. So, ooh, my little screen is in the way. Okay, so this next one, what are you doing for vacation? Now, this one isn't asking about a thing, but it still is, right? They're asking, what are you doing? What are your plans? So it's not talking about an object. It's saying, you know, we use what to talk about situation or an action, right? So we can say, what are you doing for vacation? You could say, I am going to see my family in Mexico. That's what I'm doing, right? Now, you can also say what happened, right? In English, what happened? And that's a question. And you could say, oh, sorry, I spilled some soap. Usually we say what when we have no idea what is going on, right? What is happening? What happened? It's usually when somebody comes in or sees something that like they kind of see what happened, but they don't know what was going on. So they say, what happened? It's a question. Oh, and you could say, oh, I spilled some soap. Or what happened? Oh, I had to take my dog for a walk. You know what I mean? Like my dog peed in the house, that kind of stuff. But what you will hear in English is sometimes people say, what is happening? And it's a greeting. So people say, what's happening? Oh, hey, what's happening? It's a greeting. It's not, they're not actually asking like what's going on right now. They're just saying, how are you doing? Almost like what is happening in your life? Or it's kind of like how people say, oh, what's up, right? What is up? They're not saying like what's up above you. It's a greeting. It's saying, oh, how are things going? What are you doing in your life? It's a greeting. So it's when they say that, they're just saying, oh, what's happening in your life? How are you? So you can say, oh, nothing much, right? So you can say, what is happening? And you can say, oh, nothing much. I'm just working and I am, I live with my family. So that's what people can say, you know, what is happening? They can use what to as a greeting, right? What's up? What is happening? Or you could say things are good. What is happening? Oh, things are good, which is another weird sentence in English, right? Things are good. What does that even mean? It just means that everything's okay. I'm okay, things are okay, things are good. My life is good because that's what the things are, is your life, my job, my family, things are good. Now the word when. So when is what we use only to ask about time, right? So what can ask about lots of different things. What time? What are you doing, right? But when is only about time. So when do you go home? They're asking about a time. So you say, I go home at 3. You give them a time. When do you go home? When does the bus come? It comes at 4:15, right? So those questions, those times when you hear when do you go home? When does the bus come? If they're asking about when a certain thing happens, so when do you go home? When does a bus come? You give a time, right? But sometimes when just means, you know, it's not an exact time. It's just saying at what point in time, right? It's a little bit different. So for example, this question, when is it okay to ask for help? Now, when I say this, when is it okay to ask for help? The answer that you can say isn't a certain time or day, right? When is it okay to ask for help? It is okay to ask for help at 6 o'clock at night. that doesn't really make sense because what the person is asking isn't for a certain time. They're saying, how do you know when is it okay to ask for help? Meaning, when should I ask for help? When is it okay to ask for help? What time, right? Not at 4 o'clock or tomorrow, but when? Like, is it, but you're still talking about time. So is it after you get in trouble? Is it if you have already tried to figure it out yourself? When? So my answer to this question is I use a word called whenever you need it. Whenever means at any time. It isn't a certain time. When somebody says whenever, it means anytime. You get to pick the time, right? So when is it okay to ask for help? I think that you can ask for help whenever you need it at any time, right? So another question is, when can you ask for a raise? When is it okay to ask for a raise? So when talks about time, but it's also saying, you know, what time in my life at my job is it okay to ask for a raise? When can I ask for a raise? So it's asking about, not, on Mondays, you can ask for a raise on Fridays, but it is asking about a time. When is it okay? And that's something for you to decide, right? So usually every year at your job, they give you an evaluation, right? They look at what you do, how good of a job you're doing, and they say, okay, we're going to give you a 30-cent raise, or we're going to give you a 50-cent raise, right? So sometimes they do that, but some jobs don't do that. Some jobs just pay you the same. And sometimes what you can do is, if it's been a long time, if you've been working there a long time, you can ask your manager if it is okay if you have a raise, like just talk to them about it. So when can you ask for a raise? It's up to you, right? It's not saying, what time, it's saying when. When is it okay? At what point in your job is it okay? So the next word we're going to talk about is where. Where is talking only about place. So where is my phone? It is on the table. So it's saying, oh, there's the place. Where is my phone? What place is it at? It's on the table. Where is Melinda? She is in her office. So when somebody uses the word where, they're asking for a place or a location. That's another word for place. The next one we're going to talk about is why. And why is what we use when we need a reason, right? We need somebody to explain, to talk about a reason. And a reason is just like, why something happens. So why was the meeting canceled? So this question saying, why was the meeting canceled? You're asking why, what was the reason that the meeting was canceled, right? Our supervisor is sick today. That's the answer. Why was the meeting canceled? Our supervisor is sick today. So that's why it was canceled. You're not asking what time was the meeting canceled? Who canceled the meeting? When they're asking why, they want you to explain what happened, right? So explain just means to talk about, to tell them what happened, right? So that's why is such an important word to know, because when somebody says why, anytime in a question, why this, why that, they're asking you to explain. So why was the meeting canceled? And you tell them, you explain, oh, our supervisor is sick today. That's why the meeting was canceled. Why do I need my ID card? So this person's asking, can you explain to me that I need my ID card? Why do I need my ID card? And the answer could be so you can get around the building, right? So you guys use your ID cards to get into rooms, right? You put them up to the little boxes and you can get into rooms, right? Why do I need an ID card? You explain so you can get around the building. Another question that's you can hear a lot is really big questions, kind of like the one we talked about last week, right? Why do you want this job? So when somebody asks you something big like that, like, why do you want this job, right? If you're applying for a new job or you're applying to be promoted, if you say, why do you want this job? Somebody asks you, why do you want this job? You have to explain to them the reason that you want that job. So the reason could be, why do you want this job? I want to improve the work that we do in my department. I want to have control over making my coworkers have better jobs, that kind of thing. Why do you want this job? And you have to explain the reason why. So the next word we're going to talk about is how. How. And when we talk about how, there's a little typo in there. So when we say how, what it means is the manner, right? And when I say manner, it means, I'm not talking about good manners, like, wherever you're from, whatever good manners are, like America, it's like not making sounds when you eat and not being rude, good manners. But when I say manner, it means like how you do something, how something is done, how, doing something, or how you do something. So how to. So you've seen this, I'm sure you've seen a lot of these. How to means, how do I do this, right? How do I do an action? It's about the action. How do I do this action? So how to would be how to tie your shoes. Now that's an easy one, right? One that all of you know. But little kids, you could say, like, they can ask, how do I tie my shoes? But you can, how to tie your shoes, how to replace light bulbs, how to ask for a raise. So these are just like why is an explanation, how is telling you all of the steps to do it. So why is asking you to explain, how is telling all of the steps to do something, to do an action. How do I ask for time off? How do I do that? So you can ask your supervisor, right? This other one is when we use how, we're asking about a very specific thing. And we're asking how to do the steps. So for example, how do I file a complaint to human resources? So for that one, human resources are the people that handle problems and make sure that the employees are doing okay, I guess. So how do I file a complaint? So that's saying, what steps do I do? What action do I do to file a complaint? And file means just to tell them about something that's bad or wrong that's happening. So how do I file a complaint? So that one would be like, first you go to human resources and then you talk to one of the, you usually know their names, like you go talk to Peter, and Peter talks to his boss, and they will take care of the problem. So that's how you, file a complaint. How, now this is another big one. How do I tell my husband I want a divorce? Now, this one, these two questions, they're really big questions. It's not like, oh, well, first you do this, first you do this, first you do this. They're kind of, it's when somebody asks you how, they're asking for steps. But these steps can be really serious, right? So you can ask a simple question like, how do I fill up my car with gas? How do I do that? And that one's, oh, you drive to the gas station and you pay for the gas, and then you take the little nozzle and you put it in your car. But then it can be big questions. How do I tell my husband I want a divorce? And, and that's like, okay, so what's the first step? So when somebody's asking how, it usually means that they're asking for steps. What do you do first? What do you do second? What do you do third? Certain things have to happen. So that's all of the WH questions in English. And we are going to keep talking about this in the other lessons.